Hello there, this is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Chioma Innocent, and here are the top stories. Flash floods sweep through New York City subways. Late President Buhari's body departs London for state funeral in Daura. Peter Obi urges ADC to zone 2027 presidential ticket to a southerner, and Senate kicks against Senator Natasha's resumption. Details now. Thank you for staying tuned. The World News at 12 begins outside the shores of Nigeria, where subway passengers in New York City were left stranded inside carriages after torrential rain caused floodwaters to gush onto platforms. Video footage from the platform of 28th Street Station showed passengers watching from inside the train as water poured into the station. Other videos showed passengers kneeling on their seats to avoid the water seeping into the train. In New Jersey, Governor Phil Murphy declared a state of emergency as flash floods submerged cars and closed roads. Meanwhile, the remains of former President Muhammadu Buhari have departed London in the United Kingdom for a state burial in Daura, Katsina State. The body of the late president was conveyed on a Nigerian Air Force jet. You will recall that Buhari died on Sunday, July 13, 2025 at the London clinic after an undisclosed ailment. Meanwhile, former presidential spokesman Femi Adesina has admitted that the late ex-president Muhammadu Buhari's survival was dependent on his choice to ignore Nigeria's healthcare system and continue his medical care in London throughout his presidency. Adesina, who served as special advisor on media and publicity to Buhari during his 8-year tenure, made the startling admission during an interview on the Monitor television program. According to Adesina, Buhari's frequent medical trips abroad were not just a matter of personal preference, but a decision that ultimately preserved his life, justifying Buhari's refusal to patronize Nigerian hospitals despite being the leader of the country. Adesina claimed it was necessary for Buhari to stay alive first before he could attempt to fix the nation's healthcare system, a system he openly avoided. Let's take a listen to Femi Adesina speaking on this particular issue, where he said that former President Muhammadu Buhari had to use London hospitals in order to stay alive.
Like I said, he always had his medicals in London, even when he was not in office. So it was not about the time he was president alone. He had always had it in London. And then you have to be alive first to get certain things changed or corrected in your country. If he had said, I'll do my medicals in Nigeria just as a show off or something, he could have long been dead, because there may not be the expertise needed in the country. But he needed to be alive to be able to lead the country to a point where we will have that expertise. So those who glibly talk of going abroad, they don't know that a man needs to be alive first before he can effect a change.
In a recent development, the presidential candidate to the Labour Party in the 2020 elections, Peter Obi, has demanded that the African Democratic Congress ADC coalition should zone its presidential ticket to the south for the region to produce a president to serve another 4 years. In an interview with journalists, Obi urged the coalition to cede the presidential ticket to the south, and in his words, "Let us finish this matter." The former Anambra governor, who has promised to serve just one term if given the coalition presidential ticket, said a northerner should not emerge the coalition's presidential candidate. Obi's push for coalition ticket zone to the south comes barely 2 weeks after the coalition politicians adopted the ADC as their official party to fight 2027 presidential election. This move could disqualify former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, a strong voice in the coalition, and other potential presidential aspirants of northern extraction interested in running for president. Meanwhile, the opposition coalition has won the former Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi against leaving the African Democratic Congress ADC ahead of the 2027 elections. The coalition warned that leaving the ADC might mark the end of Obi's political trajectory. This warning comes on the heels of the revelation on Monday by the Director General of the Obedient Movement, Yunusa Tanko, that Peter Obi will contest the 2027 presidential election with or without the coalition ticket of the ADC. He also urged the ADC coalition to zone its presidential ticket to the south rather than the North. However, in a swift response, Comrade Abami Bello of the ADC Youth Vanguard stated that if Tanko's submission truly represents Obi's position, the former Anambra State Governor may be looking at the end of his political trajectory if he walks away from the coalition due to losing the party's 2027 presidential ticket. Bello added in a statement on Tuesday that such action would portray Peter Obi as another self-interested politician who's only interested in his personal ambitions and not in nation building. He urged that rather than dump the coalition, the Labour Party chieftain, who has a history of moving from one party to another, should rather embrace the opportunity to mentor new leaders and build long-term political structures. The Nigerian Senate has rejected Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's notification of her intention to resume legislative duties, citing no legal basis for her return. The Senate stance came despite the Federal High Court ruling that declared her 6-month suspension unconstitutional. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan was suspended in March 2025 for alleged misconduct, but the court, presided over by Justice Binta Nyako, ruled that the suspension was excessive and violated her constitutional right. Following the court decision, her lawyer, led by Michael Numa, a senior advocate of Nigeria, notified the Senate of her intention to resume duties on July 15 in a letter dated July 11, addressed to the clerk of the National Assembly. However, Nigeria's upper legislative chamber, in a letter addressed to Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan's counsel, stated that there is no order made on the 4th of July by Honorable Justice Binta Nyako for the Senate President or the Senate or the National Assembly to comply with. It added that Senator Natasha should await the action of the Senate to exercise their power of recall as advised by the court and in terms of the judgment of the Honorable Court. Senate spokesperson Senator Yemi Adaramodu claimed that the certified true copy of the court's enrolled order contained no directive for her recall or reinstatement. He added that the judgment did not include any express or mandatory order directing the recall or reinstatement of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. Meanwhile, let's move to the capital city where our correspondent Folashayo Adigun gives us a report from our VOP 96.1 FM studios.
Good afternoon, and here are the major stories. I am Folashayo Adigun. Senator representing the Federal Capital Territory, Ireti Kinigbe, has launched a strong attack on the FCT Minister, Nyesom Wike, calling his appointment by President Bola Tinubu a critical error. Speaking during an interview with newsmen on Monday, Senator Kinigbe accused Wike of autocratic leadership and flouting constitutional procedures. The senator also raised concerns over Wike's alleged reintroduction of defunct agencies without proper legal backing. Citing a specific case, Kinigbe alleged that Wike revoked over 7,000 acres of land previously allocated to the University of Abuja, describing the move as a violation of the Land Use Act. She further criticized the minister's handling of local employment, saying his actions have led to job losses and growing public dissatisfaction. The senator concluded by expressing disappointment in President Tinubu for entrusting Wike with such a key role, despite being a member of the opposition. The United States Embassy in Abuja and the Consulate General in Lagos will remain closed today, Tuesday, July 15, 2025, in observance of the national public holiday declared by the Nigerian government to honor former President Muhammadu Buhari. The U.S. mission in Nigeria made the announcement on its official X account on Monday, July 14th, stating that the closure is in line with the nationwide commemoration of the late Nigerian leader. The Nigerian government had declared Tuesday a work-free day to pay tribute to Buhari, who passed away on Sunday, July 13th in London at the age of 82. Buhari served as Nigeria's president from 2015 to 2023, has previously leading the country as military head of state between 1983 and 1985. He was widely known for his anti-corruption policies and efforts to improve national security. President Bola Tinubu also declared a 7-day mourning period with national flags ordered to fly at half-mast in honor of the late statesman. The Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees (NULGE) FCT chapter has suspended its 3-month strike action with a directive for all members to resume work from midnight Tuesday, July 15, 2025. The decision comes after the intervention of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, who directed that 10% of the area council's internally generated revenue be used to pay off 3 months of outstanding salaries owed to local government workers. In a statement issued after its State Executive Council meeting on Monday at the Union Secretariat in Gwagwalada, NULGE said the decision followed extensive deliberations and appeals from the FCT Minister, the FCT Traditional Council, and other key stakeholders. I am Folashayo Adigun.
In a recent development, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) is to commence nationwide continuous voter registration (CVR) exercise as part of preparations for the 2027 general elections. INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner for Benue State, Professor Sam Egu, who disclosed this in Makurdi yesterday, said the exercise would commence on August 18, 2025. Professor Egu explained that it will take place in the 36th state of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, stressing that it would commence with online pre-registration, which would be done through the INEC website. He stated that the online registration will be followed by in-person registration in all INEC area offices nationwide and other designated centers starting from August 25 between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. each day from Monday till Friday. He emphasized that the exercise would address issues regarding inclusion of fresh persons who are not in the existing register as a result of turning 18 and above after the 2023 general elections and were not able to register before because they were not in the country, in prison, or were not interested. He pointed out that the exercise would also address issues of those whose cards were damaged, lost, or those who needed correction on the card or deliberate change or inclusion of any other parameters, or seeking intra and interstate transfer or from one ward to another or from one polling unit to another. You're currently listening to the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. When I head into the news analysis segment, I have joining me public affairs analyst and political affairs commentator Ola Emmanuel. A pleasure to have you with me this afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Let's quickly get into it. Late President Muhammadu Buhari's body has departed London. He will be buried in a state funeral in Daura, Katsina State today. A number of Nigerians had quite a lot to say about what they would remember his administration for. I want you to speak on this just for a minute or two before we head into other matters. What would you remember the late ex-president administration for?
Thank you so much one more time. It's unfortunate that we lost one of the Nigerians president, a man that is known for anti-corruption move, discipline and tenacity, even during his first time becoming the head of state in 1983 or thereabout. It's quite unfortunate we lost him at a time when Nigeria is undergoing a manner of transformation that we need people like him who will be able to give us the right advice and support for moving ahead. Among other things, I will say that I remember Muhammad Buhari for in his administration is his fight against corruption. It's number one thing. Though it meets with stiff resistance by reason of the categories of persons who are involved in his administration there. But however, he has put a feet on the sand of history, registering the fact that he does not tolerate corruption. It's number one thing. Then number two, if we look at the administration of Muhammad Buhari, it will interest us to know too well that certain policies that borders on empowerment were part of the things he has done. For instance, the Empower started during his time, where Nigerian youths were given support to encourage them, synergize whatever they want to do to ensure they benefit, to invest and stuff like that. That went on. I think there's another one, social insurance, something investment, was also part of Muhammad Buhari's administrations. As much as he is known to be a man who fought corruption, corruption still remains a problem in the Nigerian system of things. That is because Corruption is a syndicate of people who network in leadership positions, ensuring that it is their interests that supersede that of the nation. And it is quite pathetic about that for us to note. So Muhammad Buhari has been someone who believed in going slow and steady. As much as people were agitating to see a lot of changes, transformations during his time, but because he is nicknamed Baba Go Slow, and as it were, so what we were expecting to experience during his administration still remained in mirage till his time had elapsed. I think these are the few things I can speak about him, but he was a good man. He's a man who is not giving into self-aggrandizement, somebody who believed that the other person should be considered in the things they do.
But you know, there were certain areas I
personally said about him.
Thank you, Mr. Alaimano. There were certain areas Nigerians criticized him. The person who said,
"Are you there?"
I'm with you, Mr. Alaimano. Can you hear me? I can hear you, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Thank you so much. Femi Adesina, who served as Buhari's special advisor on media and publicity, came out to say in an interview today that if the former president had chosen to use Nigeria's healthcare system, he would have been long dead. This was after Nigerians raised alarm and said, why would he die in a UK hospital? I mean, after 8 years of being Nigeria's president, you would think that there would be healthcare centers in this country that are really up to date that he could have used, to treat himself when he was ill. Why does he have to fly back and forth if he was really that sick? There's a way somebody will be sick and you just will not be able to move from one place to another. But Femi Adesina says that he made these frequent medical trips abroad even before he became a president, that it was a matter of personal preference and that was what preserved his life, that it was necessary for Buhari to stay alive first before attempting to fix the nation's healthcare system. But Buhari openly avoided Nigeria's healthcare system. We had a lot of our medical personnel traveling abroad following the Japa wave. Right now, we do not have so many medical doctors to treat Nigerians as at this moment, to the extent that even he had to travel abroad. So what would Femi Adesina mean by saying that if he had been treated in Nigeria, he would have been long dead? Does it mean we do not have people with the expertise to take care of our political elite in this country? Does it mean that our education has been so balkanized that we do not trust the kind of graduates we are churning out every year?
To start with, we have the medical personnel in Nigeria that can handle or tackle any kind of ailments. It's not the problem of manpower, it's the problem of infrastructures and facilities available. But for a president of a nation or for a statement to come from a presidential aid on information, very additional to say that if he had been remained, it means that is a question that they should be able to answer as representative of this big country, that the facilities and manpower to handle ailments in Nigeria are in question. Then that should be a shame unto them for anybody to say so. But if President Muhammad Buhari, now late, say that it was a personal choice, there is nobody that would prefer resources in another man's country to take care of himself when you have exactly what you are saying. Put it simple way, that in the Nigerian proverbs, it has been said that what you have in Sokoto, you don't need to go to Sokoto to look for it. So if the medical system in Nigeria is up and doing, you don't need for anybody to go that way. I remember when I was very, very small, people were coming from London to Nigeria to University of Ibadan for treatment. So what happened? So it means if expatriates can come over to this place to have them treated from other nations, then why is it that things has turned? Where did we miss it? I'm bringing it to the issue of education. You don't need a prophet to tell anybody here that the system of education in Nigeria is appalling. Be that as it is, does not mean that we still do not have right persons. The reason why Nigerian medical personnel, medical experts, medical students, those who are already practicing are moving out of the country is they are not getting the pay for the services they are rendering. And that's the reason why everybody is seeking for a greener pasture. But if you lower it down to the issue of education, the falling system of education in Nigeria is a bigger challenge that there is no president in Nigeria who is ready to make any investment into the future. The future of any nation is in the manpower. The manpower of any nation is in the academic system. And as long as the academic system remain in this dilapidated state, we are not going to get the best of it. It will interest you to know, Rita, that when you go out there in terms of job search and you met with graduates who told you they came from some prestigious universities, and your interaction with you, we know whether we are not producing the right persons into the labor market. And that boils down to the fact that our budget for education has always been the lowest. And as such, that will not be able to bring in the necessary things. Thank God for the support of organizations that UNESCO, organizations that USAID, tertiary institutions, and the rest of them. They made their input by supporting. But if not that, the budget for education in Nigeria is something that brings tears into the eyes or face of anyone who believe that things can be changed. So I think that it is still a leadership question.
Are you with me, Mr. Ala Emmanuel?
Yes, I'm with you.
Thank you so much. You're saying it is a problem of leadership, but then let's move on to the struggle for the leadership of Nigeria in the 2027 elections. Peter Obi has urged the ADC coalition to ensure that they zone the 2027 presidential ticket to a southerner. That's to zone that ticket southwards. He's saying because of this, unofficial agreement, 8 years for the south, 8 years for the north, President Tinubu is a southerner. By 2027, he would have spent 4 years in office. By 2031, whoever is there, if the person is a southerner, should actually serve one term.
Hello?
I can hear you, Mr. Ala Emmanuel. Can you hear me, sir?
The line went blank. Please come again, please.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right, now.
All right. Peter Obi wants the ADC to zone their presidential ticket southwards to a southerner and not a northerner, saying whoever that person is must also leave office by 2031 to make way for a northerner to come in for another 8 years. He's promised to serve one term if that happens. But there are indications, there have been reports, and some sources are saying that this ticket may go to Atiku in 2027. You see Peter Obi leaving the ADC coalition when this happens?
You see, when we talk about policies and programs of given nations, I will keep telling you, like I keep telling each time I come around, the major challenge of the Nigerian system of governance is not being objective. No nations grow by being emotional when it is time for serious decisions to be made. The coalition as it is that is involving, that is the thing that is coming up, making the front end lines today. I have said that sometime in April, that no coalition will survive the current administrations if we are not being objective about it. How do I mean? If it has become a norm that working for leadership has to go around the geographical tenets of Nigeria, north, south, east, and thereabout. But over the years, it is only on paper, it is not practicable. And the reason why it's not practicable is because certain group of persons felt that Nigeria is their birthright and they're the only people. So I am saying it unequivocally without reservation and apology to anybody. The coalitions, as they begin to side and say that somebody has to come from the north, I have written it that is the beginning of the fall of the coalition. The reason being that we cannot finish from south and give it to the north, from the north and give it to the south. Igbo men are Nigerians like any other person. All these things they are doing that are subjugating them, they are not want them to be. It's completely unacceptable.
Mr. Ala Emmanuel, right now it's not about the southeasterners, right? Obi is saying zone to the south. It could be anybody, but let it be to the south. That is to say, if this ticket goes to Atiku in 2027, Obi may opt out of the party. Meanwhile, I spoke to a chieftain of the Labour Party last week who said if anything happens, if Obi does not get the presidential ticket of the ADC coalition, he's welcome back to the Labour Party. But Julius Abure and Abayomi Arabambi are seeking to expel him from that party for anti-party activities. So wouldn't that leave him politically stranded?
For now, there are no formal decisions made by the people. And if there is any gimmicks that is underneath that people are saying that if he moves to ADC, it will be anti-party. Rita, if you ask me, I will tell you humbly, there is nothing like an anti-party in Nigeria. There is just nothing like that. It's a game of interest. We have Wike at the Federal Capital City as a minister from another party. How many times have you seen him being charged? How many times has he been expelled? How many times has anybody said that you cannot become this when you are in another party? So sometimes Obi choose to say, okay, now if that's what he feels, there shouldn't be any issues for somebody to raise an eyebrow and say that it's an anti-party, because that has been the things happening in the last 8 years or more since the administrations of APC has come into power. So there is no issue of anti-party at all. But now, it will interest you to know at the moment now there are all still speculations with regards to any information you are getting. Obi has not come out boldly to tell anybody I am decamping to this or this is my position. But the thing is that let the writing be done. The writing is done. We will go. I sent something. Maybe when I check it and I copy it, I'll send it to you. I said for now, coalition or no coalition, let every Nigerian know too well that there are still people from the APC inside the coalitions who are there to extract information about the strategies of the coalition and send it back to the APC in order for them to fail the system in the process. So it calls for wisdoms and brainstorming to be able to topple the game as it is going right now.
In the midst of all of this, sir, the ADC Youth Vanguard has come out to say, because Yunus Atanko, that's the Director General of the Obedient Movement, says Obi will contest 2027 presidential election with or without the coalition ticket of the ADC. What he's saying is in 2027, Obi must be a presidential candidate. So if the ADC coalition does not give him that ticket, by all indications, he may leave that coalition. That's why I asked about him being politically stranded. If Abuja, Arabambi, and other people within the Labour Party want to expel him for anti-party activities, now the ADC Youth Vanguard goes on to say that if he leaves the ADC coalition, he runs the risk of being ending his political trajectory. Thus, he will no longer be able to garner as much clout as he's been able to since towards the ending of 2022. In fact, they're asking him, they're saying he has a history of moving from one party to another. He should rather embrace the opportunity to mentor new leaders and build long-term political structures. Does this mean that there is a conspiracy to leave Peter Obi high and dry? I mean, if he isn't given the presidential ticket, he leaves, Labour Party wants to expel him. Can he find his footing in time to still contest in 2027? Since the Obedient Movement are saying that he must contest. If he can't contest under the platform of the ADC, he can't contest under the platform of the Labour Party. Where does that leave him, since we don't have independence candidacy in the Constitution?
Like I said, at the moment now, there is no official whatever. Whatever anybody is saying that if he doesn't begin with ADC, it means he might lost his ground. I want to tell you here, the Obedient is more than just a political party.
They are not even a political party at this moment. They're just a political movement.
Yes, it's a political movement. So this political movement, as long as we have the obedient who stand by the philosophy of the obedient, whichever political party it is may not necessarily matter, but the interest of the obedient to ensure that the obedient succeed and its ambitions, that is the most important thing for us to say. But at the moment now, we cannot really be sure to say that they will be able to strangle his political ambitions. Nobody can ascertain that at this moment now. But I want to believe that all these things are on the drawing board and the pipeline waiting for manifestations. Strategies are in place. Remember, politics is a game of scheme. So certainly these schemes are undergoing, but I know for sure that Obedient will not be disappointed at the end of this whole thing.
Some Nigerians are of the opinion, some Nigerians have this sentiment that this coalition was actually for Atiku to consolidate power, and that he used the Peter Obi to draw crowd and to create a buzz around that coalition. If Atiku had gone for this coalition on his own without involving Peter Obi and a few others, he may not have created so much buzz, as some seem to see Obi to be the beautiful bride of the moment. Is that a notion that you agree with?
Well, I do not want to agree completely with that yet. Like I said before now, the coalition is a scheme. The coalition is a scheme, like I said so. The reason why I said so is that all the people who form into that coalitions now are people who have one time or the other ruined this country, Nigeria. They are not repentant persons that one can say that this formation will bring about a new Nigeria. So anybody who is using that coalition as a reason why things will change, I am not giving that person 100% thumb up yet. Why? Because this is Nigeria. So if they are looking at the coalition to be the savior of the situation of the country at the moment, then it is not those people who are in the leadership positions who are actually clamoring for 2027 election. They won't be the person that will save Nigeria from the decadence of mismanagement and gross corruptions. So, and as such, for now, that coalition shouldn't threaten anybody as long as we are still in the planning stage. That's my opinion.
One final question on this particular topic before we move forward. This whole coalition, the coming together of political heavyweights, it was a playbook that the now APC used in 2015, right? So they know this playbook. They brought it to the fore in Nigeria. They understand how this works, and they've come together. I mean, almost 2 years before the presidential elections in 2027. Can they really use this style to unseat President Tinubu in 2027, or are they strange bedfellows and jokers like some APC chieftains have called them?
I say that the coalition is a move, it's a scheme. Because it will be shocking to see the likes of El Rufai, to see the likes of David Mark, to see the likes of Amechi, to see Rotimi, to see the likes of several other persons suddenly say they were no longer interested in APC. The question is that what happens before now? Why the sudden movement? Why the exodus of the top-notch political persons from their primary political party to a coalition when there are no crises in the party that are enough to say that I am no longer comfortable with this? That's the reason why I said it is a scheme. So it's something that the people behind the APC are saying, let's do this so that we can invalidate the obedient, because you know too well, come 2027, the obedient have made their stand known to anybody that if it is not the obedient, then nobody will come. So if we stand by the tenet of what the obedient stand for, it means that they are going to stand to ensure that this manipulation during elections, they don't hold true like it happened in 2023. So that's just what I wanted to say, that we should still remain watchful and be observing things as they play. The obedient are resolute. The obedient are firm. The obedient want to ensure that the things in the Nigerian system change. And I believe certainly come 2027, the story will change.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ala Emmanuel. Let's now go over to happenings in Nigeria's National Assembly, where the Senate has kicked against the return or the resumption of legislative duties of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, who was suspended in March for alleged misconduct. Now, recently, a court presided over by Justice Binta Nyako said the suspension was excessive. It violated her constitutional rights. She's directed her lawyers to let the Senate know that she'll be resuming very soon. The Senate says they are not ready for her to resume because the court did not expressly direct them to recall her back. They just said, look, you have to do this, but did not put a date or anything to it. But she has said she's ready to return. Nigerians cannot really afford any controversy on the floor of the National Assembly as at this moment, especially since we are still in mourning for former President Muhammadu Buhari. Why is the Senate not keen on recalling Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan? Is it that they want this 6-month suspension to fully play out? She has been stripped of her chairmanship of a committee that she was heading. I mean, all of this time that she has not been able to be right there in plenary, is that not enough punishment already?
Well, talking about Senator Uduaghan, Natasha, our issues has become a pathetic one, and it's a game that we all know too well that the power that be can use anything to ensure that anybody who is not in their good book is frustrated. And that's exactly what we're saying. And like I said some times ago, one of the major challenges in Nigeria that we are selective at our obedience to certain rules in Nigeria. When it did not favor the people that be, they ensure that they bring constitutions to bear. But when it favors them, they downplay it. If the court has said that Natasha should be return, that she should return to her official duty. I see no reason why the National Assembly should begin to bring out that there are no specificity as to the time frame she should do that. So if they are still arguing that, they can still get back to the court and tell the court to be specific about it so that it will not be an issue of assumption. So if the court say let her resume, nothing is stopping her. And I want to believe if the right thing is being done and by virtue of the investigation that has taken place so far, then definitely if that thing was done in error, Natasha will be compensated accordingly.
All right, then. Thank you so much. Before you go, continuous. Before you go,
Hello?
Mr. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you, sir. I can hear you,
Hello?
sir. I want to quickly
Yes.
talk about continuous voter registrar exercise, CVR exercise that will begin in August 18. Right? The resident electoral commissioner for Benue State has let us know that this will begin nationwide from August 18. From August 25, people will be able to go to designated centers to either retrieve their PVCs if it's damaged or lost. People who turn 18 after the 2023 elections can actually also go and register to get their PVCs if they want to. If you want to change your name or anything you want to do, but preparations are already in top gear to ensure that people can get their PVCs ahead of 2027. Using the local government elections that happened on July 12, that was last Saturday in Lagos, as a yardstick, do you think we'll see this same widespread apathy ahead of 2027, where a lot of Nigerians already had that mindset of, whether we vote or not, person will go enter, that kind of mindset?
Well, you see, what makes people change their mind from things is their experience. And over the years, the way the Nigerian polity has turned to is it's a thing that people don't longer believe that, or the credibility of the franchise as exercising their civic responsibility as Nigerians. And that's because they are no longer it is no longer an election, it has been a selection process. You understand what I'm saying now? So, but for the resident electoral commissioner to come up and say it is a normal thing to do, that after several years, that certain persons who have outgrown their minor years to become 18 should be given the right to go and register so that they can exercise their franchise. But the truth is that, like I keep telling people, is that refusing to vote, refusing to get yourself registered is also giving your opponent the right to authenticate their evil. So I would encourage everybody in Nigeria, those people who are relocated from, like the last election now, the election on Saturday, I couldn't exercise my vote. Why? Because I've relocated from my previous local government to another place, and as such, my register, and I wouldn't want to stress myself going over there.
With this continuous voter register exercise, you can actually transfer from one polling unit to another so you can vote in the next elections.
Yes, I have experienced that before. I've transferred my own from one state to Lagos, and I'm going to transfer from Lagos, within Lagos, intra-transfer. So it is actually very, very seemingly very correct.
So how do we encourage Nigerians to actually participate in electoral processes when they believe that the outcome doesn't favor them or that it's not free and fair?
How we should encourage them is giving them the possibility that a change is possible. And if a change is possible, everyone must be participatory. We must all come outside to say, this is who I want to lead me. Because when you say you are not coming outside because they have their candidate already, you are giving them so a sensitization needs to go again. And it's quite appalling and unfortunate that the NOA, National Orientation Agencies, are not actually working the way they should. There are too many things that Nigerians need to know, but will never do it. I don't know whether that help is just operational by illusion, but it's not functional the way it should. There are certain information that need to be disseminated. It is their duty to educate people. It is their duty to
on that particular notion, there are complaints of low funding, very, very low funding. The director of the NOA in Lagos was with us on Saturday when we're analyzing the Lagos State local government elections, and he said sometimes the allocation they get is 100,000 naira for 3 months. What can they do with that with the current state of the economy?
If that is their experience, what is the law saying concerning that? What is the budget regarding that aspect of the nation? So if there are budget, then the law can have it us to question. Certain amount of money has been budgeted for this, and what we are seeing is this. They should be able to speak up. And when they speak up, then the law shall have its course. Because we cannot be talking about correcting the anti-corruption or the corruption challenge in Nigeria, and you have people who are stopping the move to stop the corruption. It's a bad thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Ala Emmanuel. We really need to go at this moment. But I must thank you for joining me on the World News at 12. Honestly speaking with you, your presence, your opinion, your analysis has made all the difference. And we hope you join us again. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much and have an amazing day. We have been speaking with Ola Emmanuel, a public affairs analyst and a political commentator. Just before we wrap up on the world news at 12, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard that flash floods have swept through New York City subways. Late President Buhari's body departs London for state funeral in Daura. Peter Obi urges ADC to zone 2027 presidential ticket as a southerner. And Senate kicks against Senator Natasha's resumption. That is a wrap on the world news at 12. My name is Choma Innocence. Please follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. For coverage of your live event and run news mentioned in our news bulletins, do send a mail to news@voiceofthepeople.ng. Good afternoon and thank you for listening. Do stay tuned. Coming up shortly is Matters with Solomon of M.